Hello, Internet! This is Jared Russo, the gaming editor for GeekBinge.com, and I got real fucking lazy, and I decided to review Game of Thrones Episode 3 in a video review, which is literally the least popular form of criticism you can run into. People just don't watch these videos, but they click on the review, and they'll look at the score, and then they'll notice that it's a video review, and they'll go on with their merry way. But I figure, hey, what the hell? Going on spring break soon. If you're playing this game, you're sort of really into it. Like, you're either a Telltale fan, or you're a Game of Thrones fan. You don't care about spoilers. You're sort of like, you're in. It's 6 episodes long this season. You're fucking in. So I figured I'd just get all you nerdy people out there that sort of care. Otherwise, then maybe I'll just stop doing this. But I'm happy to say that this Telltale game, which I think might be their worst, this is the best episode. So that's a good upgrade, I guess. That's good for them. I feel like this Game of Thrones so far has been super hit and miss in terms of technical glitches and bugs, the art direction, the style, how it looks, how it runs, who you play, what you do, how you interact, the storylines, the really repetitive nature of a lot of what you're sort of asked to do. There are just a ton of problems with this game, and they're still here in Episode 3, but I think they're not more ironed out. I think like I'm either just used to them more, or I just forgot about them. I feel like this is sort of the tightest episode, which is stupid because it's like 2 hours long. It's way too long. But they just sort of they cut down on the filler. I feel like there's just more important scenes than the other two episodes. There's no more setup. You're in. Hopefully you're invested at this point. I'm sort of invested in one of the characters, in Myra. I'm sort of getting there with everyone else, but I would not be totally shocked if they were to get violently, brutally murdered. I wouldn't care that deeply. It happened in Episode 1, that was sort of like, oh, cool, you're playing as Ethan, and you're bleeding everybody, and you get murdered, and it was like, oh man, like, way to kill off somebody who I actually liked. So I'm still trying to, like, care about Roderick and Asher and Garen, but, like, otherwise, I'm just sort of in it to see where it goes. I'm not sold on, like, my decisions, being super impactful, because I feel like with this game in particular, I'm sort of generalizing about the entire game instead of this one episode, but I'll wrap about my point. I'll move on to what the episode actually offered. The problem is that there are books and there is an amazing TV show, and you could totally sort of use that to your advantage because you know what's coming, and a lot of the events that happen, they're very nice that you're there for the purple wedding. It's very nice that you're there for the red wedding. It's super cool that you get to run into these people, but they're very brief. And most of your time is sort of dealing with other characters, who again I like a lot of the supporting cast that pop up, but there's so much you have to decide between two people, and you sort of know it's coming. You're gonna have to choose between them in either a sort of like backstab you way, or you're gonna have to physically save one of them. Everything just sort of it's very on the nose, and you can sort of totally see where it's coming from. Like, you expect there to be some new douche, Whitehill, who starts to, shit with you, and you gotta, do I lay down, or do I, like, hit him, or stand up for myself? And it's like, I've done that, like, so much already. Like, do you have to keep, like, beating a dead horse to death? There's really, like, no point in sort of switching what you're gonna do. The game doesn't really super give you a great incentive to want to, like, oh, maybe this time I'll, like, stand up for myself. Because if you just are wishy-washy and you flip-flop, people are like, wow, like what's going on with you? Like, my Myra, like, everyone thinks is a mystery because I keep sort of, like, switching allegiances, but not because I'm doing it on purpose. I'm doing it by accident, because, like, a lot of the decisions that you make, it's very unclear as to, like, what I'm actually sort of, like, signing up for. But this episode, they sort of added in the element of the traitor, which I was like, okay, like, I'm starting to get a little more interested. Like, now I feel like my actions are sort of, like, hopefully getting somewhere, and they won't just reveal who the traitor is, and it's sort of all wrapped up. I feel like the best thing that Wolf Among Us did was it sort of led you by the hand. Like, everyone was gonna solve the mystery and everyone was going to get to the same exact scenes, and how you did it was different, but like the way that game worked, like I knew the strings were being pulled, but I didn't super care because I loved everyone in the game. I loved being around those characters in that world, and I can make my Bigby Wolf super hard-nosed and crazy, or really, really nice and cool and slick. And I feel like playing as so many different characters in this game, like it's really hard to sort of juggle all of them at once. It's very hard to spin the plates and remember what you picked and what you said to somebody and where your allegiances lie. Instead of focusing on one person, I really don't even know who like my Asher is. Like I don't know, like it's very hard to sort of like role play as these different people because it is jumping back and forth and back and forth. Whereas the TV show, that completely works. You can sort of just like build a scene and a storyline and jump as it like gets starting to get good. Where this game, it's like sometimes it's just like, oh, like now I'm just doing this scene where I'm at the wall and I'm talking about somebody about the same thing. Okay, I've been here before, I've done this already. But I feel like this is technically the best episode. This is the stuff where there's a lot of meat and potatoes, a lot of angry characters. You can sort of piss people off, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of sort of like good threads that sort of start to go, and, I mean, they're not going to like totally deliver the goods. I got to sprinkle this out over 6 episodes, which we're halfway through. I just don't even feel like it's like a halfway through. Like I'm still sort of like waiting for like, like for us to get the goods, They sort of tease us with that Ethan kill, and ever since it's really been the Mira in the garden, do you attack the guy or do you run? Like that's sort of been like the highlight so far. I really would like a crazy twist on who was the traitor. I would really like the Asher thing to really go somewhere. That's been a really, really, really slow, monotonous sort of, character thread. I just like I sort of like don't know who he is. I don't know how I want to play him. A lot of his stuff is just it's very simplistic and sort of boring. But I'm still with it. Like I'll still play these games because like I know something has to come. Like there has to be like some sort of amazing payoff. And I'm sort of now interested in Garen, like that fight at the end with the QuickTime events. Like I was like, oh man, like I actually have to do this. Like I can't like get out of it. And I tried my hardest to not fight him, the evil dude who murdered your family. Which is like, I know like the game wants you to like seek revenge, and it wants you to hit the White Hills, and it wants you to like save your family, and it wants you to do all these things. And I really try my hardest to sort of like pull away from that and try to not do what the game wants me to do, only because I feel like inevitably you will sort of reach the same conclusions, and my choices are sort of meaningless. It's just like how much trouble or how little trouble you want to get yourself into. But I certainly think that even though there's a new villain, the sort of bratty White Hill, and they sort of like, again, it's the same scene outside of their house, and it's like the I hate you, like I'm gonna step on you and make a big show out of this, and my people are dying, I know, it's Roderick the Ruined. Once it sort of introduced like the traitor stuff, that's when I was like, okay, like now I sort of have a reason to sort of like, deal out what information I know and like who I talk to and who do I trust. It sort of like, it gives you that different perspective where then you have to start playing it differently. Before it was just like, I don't know, I guess I'll be a dick to everybody, or I don't know, I guess I'll just be like a loser. I'll be a huge pussy and I'll just lay down and hope that it'll get better, but it probably won't. So, I don't know, I've been playing this, and the save for episode 2, or episode 1 got corrupted for 2, and then I think it got solved in episode 3, so kudos to Telltale for figuring that out. Because I've literally had Duncan be the Sentinel in episode 1 and 3, but it was the other dude for episode 2 because the saves were messed up, so I guess they got that fixed. I didn't really think it mattered. I didn't really care. And I don't want my like apathetic, like, like my choices and how I'm playing it in the corrupted save to sort of like influence the other episodes, but they inevitably do. Like, I mean, like that's just like a technical problem, and even though the actual graphics and the art style, like, I didn't notice it being super just rough around the edges and shitty, like a bad oil painting. It was really awful in previous episodes. This one, a lot tighter. I didn't really notice it as much. It was slightly better paced. It sort of, I felt like, had enough like meaty scenes to sort of like, it kept going and going and going. It didn't sort of drag its feet. It didn't just like keep going on. It sort of like, it had something to say. It went on with its thing. It set up its, the North Grove. It set up its stuff well. So I give this an 8 out of 10, which is like the most like hesitant, reluctant 8 I've ever given. I don't know. I don't even know what to feel about this game. I don't even know what to say. But I didn't want to spend another, 1,000 words writing a review where I was sort of wishy-washy. I ended up giving it like an okay score. So that's what I think about this game. I'm still very perplexed. I'm way more into Borderlands. That is like where Telltale is like hitting their stride, and I really hope that they learn some lessons from what they're doing. I mean, I hope they get good properties. They keep putting out good stuff. I know they're a talented studio, and I sort of like what they're doing. But at this point, like, I feel like the formula might not really just work in a copy-paste situation. I mean, like Game of Thrones, like that, like the expectations are so high, but you have a lot of really awesome other source material that's better. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So thank you for watching if you watched, and I'll be reviewing the next one, natively written. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Thank you, and adios.
Warden of the North.